Okay, so welcome everyone to another student session for the New Jersey Student Climate Challenge. Today we have energy saving strategies at school and at home with Audrey Christopher from Alliance to Save Energy. It's going to be a really fun day, so let's get started. So we're just going to give a little bit of a background about the challenge before we get into, the topic at hand. So the challenge will be open to students in grades 6 through 12 at public schools in New Jersey. We're asking for the teams to be about 2 to 12 students just to keep it manageable. Then we have, the whole idea of the challenge is for students to create a school or community project that addresses either the human causes of climate change or the impacts of climate change on the environment. So in order for these projects to be judged, we have students creating digital story videos about their project. So judges will watch the video, and those videos will really be what we are looking at to see what the project was, how they completed it, what connection to climate change the project has. And if you're interested in learning more about digital stories, we do have a recording up on the YouTube channel right now. So for the timeline of the challenge, the first thing we have is all of these educational sessions, which we have a lot. And, at one point, we'll show you all the ones that are coming up at the end. And we have all the recordings for the ones that already happened up on the YouTube channel at Sustainable Jersey for Schools YouTube channel. So on April 1st, the challenge submissions will be due. So make sure you keep that in mind. And then in May is when the finalists will be announced. And in June, which is very exciting, there will be an awards ceremony at the Drumthwacket House, which will be hosted by the governor and the first lady. So those, winning students will be able to meet the governor and the first lady. And we have a lot of really great prizes for students that get first, second, and third place. So you can see below, that's a decent amount. Awesome. So I am going to hand it over to Audrey so that we can get started and learn more about saving energy.
Thanks, Joanna. And I will start screen sharing. So thank you guys again for joining us. I'm Audrey Christopher, and I'm with the Alliance to Save Energy. So a little bit about my background. My area of expertise would be sustainable agriculture and environmental management. So my education has been focused on agriculture and sustainability, and at the Alliance, I'm part of our education team, and we work with K through 12 schools. We have energy and environmental focused STEM programs. And we also have Doug Abbott with us today.
Hey everyone, I'm just kind of helping out with the logistics, but just wanted to say a quick hi. I'm a program manager on the education team at the Alliance, and my interest in working in the climate change field really stems from the fact that it's such an all-encompassing problem that I want to help solve. So that's kind of what drove me into the work, and I just think it's a great field to get into because there are so many ways to get involved. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist. You can approach it from the arts, or being a journalist, or pretty much any way you can imagine. So I think it's a really kind of exciting field to be involved in. That's maybe the most impactful thing you can work on. So thanks for having us, and I'll turn it back over to Audrey.
So today we'll give you, excuse me, a little bit of a background of the Alliance and our education program, which we do Empowered Schools. And then we'll talk about how climate and energy are related. And then we'll dive deeper into how you use energy and how your behavior changes can impact the environment. And then we have a few ideas that you guys could possibly use as an energy focused project for the climate challenge. And then if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or shoot us an email afterwards. Our contact information is also in the slides at the end. So the Alliance to Save Energy is a nonprofit, and we are based in DC. Our education team is remote, so we're kind of scattered across the US. I'm based in Tennessee. And the Alliance's goal is all about increasing energy efficiency. And Empowered Schools is our main program with our education department. And so we have programs in 10 states and 165 schools. So we also have 4 programs based in New Jersey. So those cover statewide over the utilities. And if you guys are in Empowered Schools, we would love to know it. So drop it in the chat if this is not the first time you're hearing about us. And if you're interested in joining the program, feel free again to reach out and we can talk to you guys about next year. So how is energy related to climate change? There might not be a very instantaneous connection when you think about energy and what does that mean for the environment. But we actually have a quick video that will simply tie them together, and so give you a little bit more of an understanding on how your energy use directly impacts climate change. And Doug will give us a share for that.
Environment. Cutting back on electricity means using less fossil fuels. Fossil fuels come from plants and animals that died very long ago and have decomposed over millions of years. To make electricity, we burn these fossil fuels, which release gases such as carbon dioxide, called CO2, as well as other pollutants. Too much CO2 in the atmosphere is dangerous. 97% of climate scientists agree it increases global climate change. Because of all the CO2 we're adding to the atmosphere, the Earth's temperature is rising, which can create extreme weather events like massive snowstorms, floods, and heat waves, and also hurt animals and plants. And burning fossil fuels releases other pollutants that can create smog and acid rain and cause asthma and other health problems. So when we use less electricity, we reduce CO2 and other pollution. This protects our global climate, our health, and keeps the world a stable place to live for humans, animals, and plants. Many people making small changes can make a big difference for our environment. And if you're interested in protecting the environment, one of the things you need to know is where your energy comes from. In the United States, the main sources that provide our electricity are coal, natural gas, and nuclear energy. Besides those, a small amount of our electricity comes from hydroelectric, wind, solar, biomass, and geothermal energy. Most of the resources we use for our energy are non-renewable. That means that there's a limited amount available, and these energy sources cannot be replenished or renewed once we've used them. The number one way the United States gets electricity is from burning coal, which looks like a black rock and is formed underground. The number 2 way is burning natural gas, which is an invisible gas that is also formed underground. Together, coal and natural gas create more than half of the electricity in our country. Both are non-renewable and both are fossil fuels, which means they'll eventually run out if we keep using them, and they create CO2 and other kinds of pollution, which is a bad combination. About 20% of our electricity comes from nuclear energy. Nuclear power plants use uranium to create energy by splitting atoms, which does not burn anything or produce carbon dioxide. There are other concerns about it though, because the waste produced by nuclear power plants is very dangerous and remains dangerous for thousands and thousands of years. A much smaller percentage of our electricity comes from renewable sources. These are sources that can easily be replenished when we use them. These sources of energy are very promising because they will basically never run out and don't make CO2 pollution. Sources of renewable energy include solar energy, which comes from light and heat from the sun, wind energy, which comes from, wind, hydroelectric energy, which comes from flowing water, geothermal energy, which comes from heat in the earth, and biomass energy, which comes from trees and other plant matter. So, there are a lot of ways to make electricity. How is your electricity made? Well, it depends on where you live. Different states and cities depend on different sources to provide their energy needs. The combination of sources is called the fuel mix. For instance, your area may use a combination of coal, nuclear, and hydroelectric. It is good to know what the fuel mix of your area is, because you can use that information to learn how much CO2 is emitted when you use electricity. Here's a website where you can find out where your electricity comes from. Just type in your zip code. You can see how your area compares with the rest of the country.
Thanks, Doug. So to recap kind of what we learned in the video on how energy relates to climate change, your energy use does matter, and energy efficiency can actually help fight climate change. So the amount of energy that you use and the source of energy that the power comes from determines how much greenhouse gases are going to be emitted into the atmosphere. And then that determines your environmental impact. And energy efficiency is a really great tool, and anyone can be energy efficient, and no matter where you are, what kind of home you live in, what you do for work. And it's a great tool for fighting climate change because you're lowering the amount of energy you're using, no matter what the source is from. So that means you're lowering your greenhouse gases that are being emitted and also lowering your environmental impacts. So anyone can be energy efficient, and we'll go through a few tips on how that relates to your schools and your home and how you might be using energy. So why does it matter for energy efficiency? And there's two main reasons. One is saving the environment that we kind of already talked about. So when you use less energy, then you're going to be using less fossil fuels to create that energy. And in turn, you will be having a beneficial impact on the environment. And number two is it saves money. So it costs money to produce energy, and it costs money to use energy. So you have an energy bill at your household, and the average household spends about $2,000 a year on energy bills. So if you use less, you're benefiting the environment, but you're also benefiting your household or your school because your energy bills will be less. So it's a win-win for saving the environment and helping fight climate change, but it also saves money. So here are a few ways that you can really quickly and easily have an impact on your energy use. So when it comes to lighting, turn off your lights when you leave a room or when they're not in use. A fun thing to remember for the classroom is last out, lights out. And I know changing behaviors might seem a little bit daunting and hard to remember. So on the right, you'll see a light switch reminder. And that can be a really easy way to remind yourself to turn them off. Or if you put these up in your house, it'll remind people in your household or in the classroom to also turn off the lights. And then you're having a bigger impact. The more people that are saving energy, the more energy in total gets saved. And so your impact just gets bigger and bigger. And another thing you can do is swapping out your incandescent light bulbs for LED light bulbs. An LED stands for light emitting diode. And LEDs are 80% more efficient than an incandescent light bulb. So you will be using 80% less energy from this one type of light bulb, and they also last about 10 times longer. So they use less energy, you don't have to replace them as frequently, and you're saving money by using the LED versus the incandescent. So it's a really great way to save energy, but also save on your energy bills. Appliances or electronics, based on if you're in school or at home, an easy way to save energy with those is to unplug any unused appliances. So a few examples would be when you close your laptop, but your laptop is still plugged into the wall, it's going to have what you call a phantom load. So even though that laptop might be off, it's still drawing energy out of the outlet to charge the laptop. So instead of leaving it plugged in all night long, unplug your laptop when you're done using it and just have it plugged in when you're using it. And another example would be phone chargers. If you're not charging your phone, don't have your phone charger plugged into the wall. And in school, something could be like printers, any sort of other large appliances that you have in the classroom that you might not be using all day long, you can just plug them in when you're using them, but ask your teachers first before you unplug anything. And laptops, if you're plugging all of your laptops in at the end of the day to charge, maybe don't do that, and maybe plug them in the morning and have them charged during the school day. And HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So what you set your thermostat to really does matter. And our recommendations for the winter is to set your heat to 68 degrees. And in the summer, set your air conditioning to 78 degrees. And these might sound a little extreme, but I promise you'll get used to them eventually. And even if you change your thermostat 1 degree towards these goal temperatures, you'll be saving 3% on your energy use. And if you like to have your house at 75, nice and toasty in the winter, that's okay. If you do it in small increments, like maybe turn it down 1 degree every week, and you'll slowly adjust, and 68 will become comfortable. So these are some really simple ways to find out how to save energy just in the behaviors that you're doing every day. So how do you relate this into your climate challenge? You can do what is called an energy audit. So you will go through either your school, your home, a community building, and you can do an energy audit. So you'll measure how much energy is being used and help you identify where your big energy users are, so your energy hogs, and ways that you can save energy really easily by making a few simple changes. So a lighting audit, you can go through your house or your classroom, count all of your light bulbs. You can do an inventory of the type of light bulbs. As we talked about incandescents before, they use a lot more energy than an LED. So maybe talk to your household or your school about swapping out those incandescents, and also thinking about how long your lights are on. So if you have outdoor lights and you leave them on all night long, maybe think about only having them on when you guys are outside and you need them, or timers or anything like that. And just measuring how much energy you're using with your lights, and then how much you could be saving if you change behaviors. An appliance audit is going to be going around and doing some investigations and kind of a scavenger hunt. So at home or at school, figuring out what's plugged in and using energy, and drawing those phantom loads that might not need to be plugged in at the time. So at home, that could be like coffee makers, gaming consoles if you're not using them, anything that's drawing energy even when it's in like a sleep or an off mode. But again, don't unplug other people's appliances unless you get their approval. And for HVAC, you can go through your home, and your audits are going to be a little bit different based on home or school because your systems will be a little bit different. But you'll go through, identify what types of heating you have, what types of air conditioning you might have, and ways that you could save energy based on adjusting your thermostat. And then also making sure that your windows and doors are closed when you have your heat or your air conditioning on, so that temperature controlled environment isn't losing your heat or your cool air. And all of these audits will also give you data. So if you're trying to convince maybe your household to save energy, having some data behind your recommendations will be really helpful, and a great persuasive argument for making your case as to why you should be energy efficient. It'll give you maybe a dollar amount for if you were to switch your incandescents to LEDs, and you can give that to your parents and be like, look, we'll save this much money just by changing over to more efficient light bulb. And hey, why not? That's a great idea. So we have a link here to a home audit, and this can be done at school or at home because it doesn't require any tools. So it's got it broken down into your lighting, appliances, and HVAC. And you can do one, all three, whatever you guys would like to do, your focus if you're interested on energy being kind of the topic of your project. And we'll share the link to these activities. So if your school is part of our Empowered Schools program, then your school will actually have an energy and water audit toolkit. And in that, we'll have your energy auditing tools. So you'll have an infrared thermometer, so that will help you with your HVAC audit. You'll be able to tell the temperature in various spots of the room. You'll have a watt meter, so you'll be able to measure how much energy one of your appliances or your computer or laptop is using by plugging that into the wall, and then plug your appliance into the watt meter. And there's a light meter, so that's the green tool on the bottom left, and that will help you figure out your right lighting for the classroom. And you might even realize that if you turn the blinds up and open up some of the windows, you might be able to have your classroom be bright enough using natural light rather than having to use your actual light bulbs. And so that will save you a ton of energy just by using the sunlight to light up your room or your classroom rather than having your electricity on. And you might not think it, but water use is actually tied to energy use. So there's a lot of embedded energy or passive energy use in our water use. And when you save water, you are then using less energy that would be used to process that water, kind of the whole sanitation system and sewer system, and also hot water. So your water has to, if it's hot, it has to be heated. And that's going to use energy that way as well. So using cold water over hot water is going to save you energy, and using less water in general is going to save you energy that way. So the next steps for your guys' projects would be to select your project topic and gather some resources. If you're interested in energy being the focus of one of your projects, we are really happy and welcome to answer any questions, provide some feedback, give you guys any tips, or share the resources that we have and help you get on the right path. And then you'll start your projects and make sure that you have your entries turned in on April 1st. If you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat or unmute. And my contact information is on this slide, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And we will also be sharing the link to the activities as well.
Great, thank you so much, Audrey. We'll give it another few minutes to see if we have any questions. In the meantime, I will share just a little bit about the upcoming events for the climate challenge. So let me just bring that up. All right, so as you'll see here, we have a few that were recorded already. Oh, let me just make sure we have. Okay, we'll get to that question in just a minute. So you'll see for the ones that we did already, we'll have recordings up on the website for, I know Andrea posted the bit.ly link that will direct you right to the website where you'll find all these resources. Of course, this one right now will be a recording up hopefully later today. And we have a really great slot of sessions coming up. So we have one about tree planting. We have one about getting your voice heard in, local, state, and federal government, how to talk to your elected officials, that type of thing. A student action panel, which will be a bunch of students from their own organizations that tackle climate change in one way or the other, speaking about their experience and how to be involved in their organizations. Then we have one about awareness campaigns. So, anything around even energy saving, you can do an awareness campaign around, or you can take all these resources from this webinar and, make your schoolmates and your community aware of the things that they can do to save energy. We have something about idling, electric vehicles, and then fighting climate change with composting, which is going to be really exciting. And I think we're actually missing one on here. We have one on food waste more generally too. But for teachers, we have professional development sessions coming up. So this one is recorded already. That has to be changed. But we have ones about implementing, Andrea, you're gonna have to tell me what the CC means. Oh, climate change education. I'm sorry. That's an obvious one, right? So, implementing climate change education into your own curriculum, igniting change in your classroom. So that's really about inspiring youth to take on their own action projects and that type of thing. And then again, a little bit more about integrating climate change into your curriculum. And then protecting New Jersey's habitats through student action, which is by New Jersey Audubon, which should be really exciting. And then this is our resource page, which you can find all of these resources on that bit.ly link. It would be really great for teachers to check out the teacher guide. This is going to be a lot of really wonderful resources for your students and how to guide their projects. And then we have a more pared down student guide that really focuses on like the project stuff, like making the digital story and that type of thing. Yeah, but you'll find all of that at that bit.ly link. And then I know, Audrey, we have a few questions in the chat if you want to address them.
Sure. So we had a question, what does the school do that is involved in Empowered Schools? So Empowered Schools is a year-long energy-focused STEM program. So you'll have a whole different array of topics that relate to energy and the environment, climate change, environmental justice, and students learn the basics of energy, and then they do an energy audit of their school. And then they also get to explore green careers and environmental justice and climate. Those are also topics that we added in this year, energy demand, and the students become the experts at their school, and then they share what they've learned from the program with their school, and then their school gets to save energy. And we talked about kind of the win-win of saving the environment, but also saving the school money. So the students get to become leaders and kind of have the recognition and responsibility of being the empowered team there, and they're energy experts. And if you are interested in joining Empowered Schools next year, you can feel free to reach out to me or Doug Abbott, but we also have a website, and it's empoweredschools.org. And there's also a contact button in there, and that will direct you guys to our emails. My email is achristopher@ase.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions for that. And if you are participating in Empowered Schools, the activities from this climate challenge can tie into points, because there's kind of a point aspect in the leaderboard. So don't miss out on getting your bonus points by tying this activity into the Empowered Schools year-long program as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Audrey, for that wonderful information. And that's really a great reminder that you and Andrea brought up in the chat as well, right? Double dip as much as you can. And if you're doing an action project around climate change, you can also get points towards new Sustainable Jersey certification as well, if it's, aligned with an action. So maybe you can triple dip, let's see. Awesome. So we are going to, sign off in just a minute. I just wanted to remind teachers that if you're not already registered, please register at that bit.ly link. There'll be like a big button that says register on the website. And registering doesn't mean that you have to hand in a project at the end, but it shows that you're interested, and you'll get all of the information that we're going to be sending out about sessions and any types of rule changes or anything like that. So thank you so much, Audrey and Doug, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.